You've gone
Look,
astray. I know you're a little. I just
my
no.
jersey's
Okay.
out here. I
Okay.
almost slept in it last night, or around one of my arms.
Caitlin Clark is box office. She is a star. And Angel Reese is to be completely believed that there's no hate. They both get along. They're cool with each other. They're high-end competitors, etc., etc. But you've known they were coming for you when you were waving your hands in your face to mock Caitlin Clark when you were beating her for the national championship.
Angel Reese found herself at the center of a whirlwind of controversy after false allegations against Caitlin Clark, an event that left the basketball world buzzing. To grasp the magnitude of this situation, it's essential to first understand the personalities involved. Angel Reese is a star athlete, known for her talent and presence on the court, but equally recognized for her larger-than-life confidence. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, is also a formidable player with undeniable skills. The clash between these two dynamic athletes was bound to create headlines, but no one expected the fallout to escalate into a full-blown scandal. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Reese had always played with a swagger that demanded attention. She could back up her talk with action, which often rubbed people the wrong way, especially in a sport where humility is sometimes worn like a badge. But Reese wasn't interested in quieting down or conforming to anyone's expectations. She dominated in her own style, blending her talent with a flair that made her both a fan favorite and a lightning rod for critics. So when allegations against Caitlin Clark surfaced, with Reese at the center of it, the sports world turned its eyes on her once again. The alleged incident between the two athletes was blown out of proportion by whispers and rumors. The accusations claimed that Caitlin Clark had disrespected Reese during a game in a way that went beyond the normal trash talk. The problem was, none of it was true. These claims began to circulate, and before long, social media and sports channels lit up with opinions, reactions, and outrage. Reese, however, found herself being blamed for igniting the situation, even though the origin of these rumors was shaky at best. For Angel Reese, the problem was less about what had been said and more about how quickly the public was willing to believe it. Despite the lack of evidence, the story spread like wildfire. It didn't matter that Clark had never crossed any boundaries. Once a narrative catches fire, it's nearly impossible to extinguish it. Reese, who thrived on confidence, suddenly found herself in a position where the bravado that once worked in her favor became a source of criticism. People didn't want to listen to her defense. Instead, they were quick to label her as the aggressor, the one who crossed the line. What made the situation even more frustrating for Reese was the dynamic between her and Clark. Both players had always had a professional respect for each other, and neither had shown signs of animosity on the court. In fact, Clark had never publicly engaged in any beef with Reese. The supposed feud was, in reality, non-existent, a fabrication born from overzealous fans and media eager for a juicy storyline. But once the allegations took root, the damage had been done. Reese's reputation was suddenly at stake. The public's response was as swift as it was harsh. Reese was destroyed in the court of public opinion for something that hadn't even happened. Her previous swagger was now seen as arrogance, and the media portrayal of her shifted almost overnight. Where once she had been celebrated for her boldness, now she was vilified. It seemed that people were eager to tear her down, as if they had been waiting for a reason to do so. The narrative became less about basketball and more about personality, with many questioning whether Reese's confidence had gone too far. But the heart of the matter was never about Reese versus Clark. The real issue was how easily people latch onto narratives that fit their preconceived notions. Reese, as a confident and outspoken woman, was an easy target. Her assertiveness, which had been a strength, was now being weaponized against her. It wasn't just about what had been said. It was about how society views powerful women, especially in sports. The allegations against her weren't just false. They were indicative of a larger problem. Throughout the ordeal, Reese maintained her composure. It would have been easy for her to lash out, to feed into the frenzy that surrounded her. Instead, she chose to let her game do the talking. If she was angry, she didn't show it. On the court, her focus remained razor-sharp, and she continued to perform at a high level despite the noise off the court. It was as if she had a point to prove, not just to her critics, but to herself. No matter what people said, she wasn't going to let them define her narrative. In the meantime, Caitlin Clark's role in the drama was almost incidental. She had done nothing wrong, yet found herself dragged into the spotlight as well. Clark, much like Reese, wasn't interested in petty rivalries. She was focused on her own game, determined to stay above the fray. But the false allegations against her highlighted the way narratives in sports can quickly spiral out of control. It wasn't just about the truth, it was about the spectacle. As the dust began to settle, it became clear that the real issue wasn't about Reese or Clark as individuals. It was about the way women in sports are scrutinized in ways that their male counterparts often aren't. Male athletes trash talk, get into heated rivalries, and push boundaries all the time, but rarely do they face the same kind of public backlash. For Reese, the false allegations were just one more example of the double standard that exists in sports. The controversy also brought to light the power of social media in shaping public opinion. A single rumor, repeated enough times, can start to feel like fact. And once a narrative takes hold, it's incredibly difficult to break free from it. Reese, for all of her confidence and talent, found herself on the wrong end of this dynamic. The backlash she faced wasn't just about what had or hadn't happened on the court. It was about the way narratives are built and how quickly they can tear someone down. In many ways, Reese's experience was a reflection of a larger cultural moment. In an era where information spreads at lightning speed, it's easier than ever for a false story to gain traction. But the damage those stories can do is very real. For Reese, the false allegations were a stark reminder that being in the public eye comes with its own set of challenges. No matter how talented or successful she was, she couldn't escape the court of public opinion. Despite the fallout, Reese's legacy as a player remains intact. She is still one of the most dominant figures in women's basketball, and her confidence remains unshaken. If anything, the scandal only served to reinforce her resolve. She wasn't going to let a false narrative define her. Instead, she would continue to let her game speak for itself, proving once again that she was a force to be reckoned with, both on and off the court. The story of Angel Reese and the false allegations against Caitlin Clark serves as a cautionary tale about the power of rumors and the speed at which they can spread. It's a reminder that athletes, especially women, are often held to unfair standards and that public perception can shift in an instant. But it's also a story about resilience, about a player who refused to be defined by the lies told about her and who continued to rise above the noise. In the end, Reese's story is one of strength. She may have been unfairly dragged through the mud, but she emerged on the other side with her head held high. The false allegations didn't destroy her. They only made her stronger. And while the scandal may have momentarily overshadowed her accomplishments, it didn't diminish her talent or her drive. Angel Reese remains a force in the world of basketball, and no amount of false accusations will ever change that. As for Caitlin Clark, she handled the situation with grace, avoiding the drama and focusing on her game. Together, these two athletes represent the future of women's basketball, a future that is bright despite the occasional storm. The controversy may have been huge, but in the end, it was just another chapter in the ongoing story of two players who are destined for greatness. The false allegations may have caused a stir, but they didn't take away from what really matters, the game itself. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.